Welcome to Behind the Bar podcast. Today we are joined by Ollie. Ollie, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Ollie. I'm the General Manager of the Turk's Head in Twickenham.
Perfect. So Ollie, we know Ollie through the BII. He was a finalist of the lawyer competition in 2023. And he is a great supporter of the BII and everything we do. And now he's an even bigger supporter of Workforce and everything that Workforce will be doing for people. To start with, Ollie, how did you get into the industry?
So I was literally that typical 16-year-old who got a job in a pub because I wanted some money to go out with my friends. And I suppose that was my first experience of hospitality in the hospitality world. I then went to university, moved to London, had a job in a bar to kind of prop up my student loan because it's not enough money to live on. And then graduated and started a journey to kind of work out what I wanted to do with my life. Tried a load of stuff didn't work, kept coming back to like this hospitality, customer-facing circus that I now call my career. Eventually did some time working in kitchens and really missed the front of house kind of theatrical bit of, not that kitchens aren't theatrical, of course, but they're one of the most theatrical places I know. And then discovered that I could use my degree through a graduate trainee scheme at Fuller's. And that was 9 years ago and kind of haven't looked back since.
What did you study at uni? Was it relating to hospitality?
It wasn't directly, no. I guess I should probably ask you to guess what you think I studied.
Oh, this
It's
opening a can of worms. I reckon it was like business studies or something.
No, too boring. Too boring. It's creative. I'll put it that way.
Actually, I didn't go to uni, so I don't like many uni courses just completely go over my head. If I went to uni, I'd study animation, but that wouldn't put me in hospitality. So.
Well, it's about as close as mine. So I studied directing for theatre at a drama school, which was validated by the University of Manchester. So I got a degree out of it as well.
Okay, so hence the theatrical references to hospitality.
Correct. Yeah, and those will continue probably for the next half hour or so.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
So you said you always found yourself going back to the hospitality industry. Is that what drew you back to it? What made you think, actually, this isn't that bad? This is something that's interesting.
I mean, there's a load of answers to that. I think the most important one that I would say is the people. I genuinely believe that hospo workers are the finest species in the human race. They are amazing people who are resilient, hardworking, creative, kind of the whole kit and caboodle. But also, I guess, you know, when you run a pub or a restaurant or somewhere like that, you are helping people to celebrate some of the best and worst moments in their lives. It is really high drama.
That's a very good point. I've never looked at it that way.
And, you know, whether people are coming in to celebrate something, a birthday, a wedding, or whether, you know, it's a wake or, you know, they're just trying to get away from the kids who are driving them nuts. You know, people come to the pub and come to restaurants and generally use the hospitality and wider leisure sector in order to commemorate the best and worst bits of their life. And to be able to be a part of that every single day, rather than, I don't know, sat behind a screen doing spreadsheets or whatever, not that hospo doesn't involve spreadsheets.
I'm assuming your role involves quite a lot of
spreadsheets.
Yeah,
but not all the time. And so it's a combination of kind of that customer experience. I've always been a big foodie. I love eating out. I think eating and drinking communally is one of the best things to do with your time. And then just got absolutely obsessed with the weird and wonderful people who operate inside our sector. Yeah. And it's a little bit of a drug, that thing. Do you know what I mean? You kind of keep coming back, or in my experience, I kept coming back for more of it. And then the ability to progress, earn a bit more money, maybe give some other people the opportunities to get involved in this weird and wonderful circus, as we're calling it, became really, really attractive. And it's kind of just built from there, I suppose.
I've never thought about it from the angle of being there to help people celebrate or commiserate things that have happened, but it's so true. It's
a really cool thing, actually. In any job, try and explain your job without saying what your job is. And I came up with that because someone challenged me to do this. It's a really good exercise to go through. I think especially for people who work in hospitality, because what we do is so many different things. That was the best I came up with when I did that little exercise.
It's like when some people ask us what we do in marketing, we just say we make things look pretty.
Yeah, exactly.
but we do. There's a lot more behind it. I don't just so quickly colour something in. There's a lot behind it, but we make things look pretty.
Yeah.
And it must be it's so rewarding as well. Like if you're it could be a graduation, a birthday, engagement. Have you had Has anyone proposed in your pub?
Oh, at the Turk's Head. Oh, I don't think we've ever had an engagement while I've been there at the Turk's Head. I have in previous jobs had engagements. I worked in a place in Herne Hill that had a lovely restaurant. It was a pub, but it had a restaurant attached. And Valentine's Day, I think one year we had 3 pre-planned. And we
How do you deal with them when there's 3 of them in one night?
Well, we were just really worried they were all going to do it at the same time. So we were like trying to hold back courses and hoping that they were all going to do it like pudding time.
Yeah.
But you don't want to ask. You don't go, can you let me know when you're going to do it?
Yeah.
And actually, it has a happy ending, that story. They were all amazing times. But we did panic, and it was on the shift brief. You know, we're like, if someone gets down onto one knee, then prepare it. Because, you know, all of them had said, like, can you bring out this when we do it? Can you do that?
Yeah.
And we're just worried that they're all going to get to pudding at the same time. And suddenly we'd be trying to...
With the happy, will you marry me written in the brownie.
Chef's just sweating in the background trying to pile out these plates with will you marry me? But no, it was all good. And Valentine's is a really special day in the calendar for everyone, I think, who works in our industry. It's busy. It's hard because it's all tables of 2. Even better that couple will remember that place as where they got engaged and potentially come back to celebrate their wedding, their birthday.
It's where the loyalty builds up, doesn't it?
As long as you get it right.
Yeah, it's a special place, so that's where they go, oh, we were here for our engagement, we were here for, our first anniversary and things like that. It's a great aspect of looking at it, though. I've never thought about that. Obviously, you said when you were 16, before you were 16, was hospitality a thing that you even thought about going into? Or was it like there's a pub in the corner that has a staff wanted sign, let's try it out?
Yeah, I suppose my relationship with pubs before I was 16 was wanting to try and get into them and not get ID'd, I suppose, was my only relationship, and knowing the one place in Greater Manchester where you could go and get beer before you were 16, not naming names. But no, in all honesty, I don't think... I went to a really high-achieving grammar school up until 16, where I left and went to a sixth form college, which allowed me to study the subjects I wanted to study. And I don't think hospitality was ever presented in any sort of job fair or kind of careers chat as a viable career when I was 14, 15, 16. It was very much viewed, unlike on the continent or in other countries, it wasn't viewed as a career opportunity. It wasn't viewed as somewhere where you could progress, you could be multi-skilled, you could reinvent yourself, you could have your own business very quickly. None of that was ever laid out. It was a money job. It was what students did in order to, which ironically, of course, I then went to do. But it was kind of a money job that was never really viewed as a career path. And thankfully, I think we are getting there now. Yeah. With that, there are a lot more good examples and role models out there of how hospitality can really be a massive springboard into a really successful and long career.
When you were 16, did you ever think that you would be a manager of a pub?
No.
You just thought this was like a gap filler while I'm making some money so I can go out with my mates, I guess.
It's really weird because I've been asked before, that first job I had, was it a really good pub? Because they must have set you up. And in all honesty, at the time, I can't remember. I could tell you the name of the bar manager who I worked for. I tell you the names of the owners. But if you ask me what was on the menu or what was on tap, I genuinely can't remember. I don't think it was a very good pub, actually, trying to think about it. But they must have got something right in the fact that my experience at 16 has now carried through into that I'm running pubs.
Yeah.
So I don't know is the answer to that question. But I don't remember showing up for work and thinking this is for me, this is for the rest of my life. But having said that, I do remember not calling in sick, genuinely showing up more or less on time. So I must have been enjoying it, because to keep a 16, 17-year-old's attention span and get them to show up on time is quite difficult unless they're really invested in it. So
I've only known you recently, and you were quite an outgoing person, talk to anyone, happy to enter different events and stuff and competitions. Were you like that at 16? Were you shy? Were you outgoing?
Are you asking me if I was a moody teenager?
No, I'm asking you if being in the hospitality, has it changed like the way you like? So I was really shy when I started in hospitality. Wouldn't talk to anyone. Now I will constantly talking. I will go up to anyone that wants to listen to me more than anything. But I know a lot of people, it builds their confidence and stuff. Were you confident at 16 or?
Yeah, I think I was confident at 16, but I was also a bit of self-reflection. I was really quite sheltered. I grew up in South Manchester, which is quite, and we're going back a few years, is quite a diverse and progressive city. But my upbringing was really quite sheltered with the different people and different backgrounds that I was exposed to. And I think what running a pub especially, but hospitality in general, really gives you is the chance to experience meeting, selling to, problem solving for people and demographics that you've never even met before. Whether that's people from a different country or from a different city, or people with loads of money, people with not much money, and really very quickly, sometimes in one shift, you get to deal with customers and team members of your team who are from completely different reference points to you. And I guess that's probably the biggest difference between me now and when I was 16, is that I've had that exposure to lots of different people because of my job.
How did you get to being a manager? Like, obviously 16, then you went to uni and things, and you came back into industry. How did you get to where you are now? I
mean, I have to give a massive shout out to Fuller's here, because it's because of them that I did. But I did it the hard way up. I started as bar staff, went into a bar supervisory role, then kind of middle management, assistant management, deputy manager, lots and lots of formal classroom-based courses, but mainly actually just transferring between different pubs, chasing opportunities, making some mistakes, and thankfully making arguably less mistakes than not. Got me through that progress to the point where I became a general manager for Fuller's. I know several people who haven't done that and are really successful leaders and run really good businesses, but on the whole, the people I really love and respect have followed that pathway and have really learned the skills that they need in order to run a team, to get to being their manager, basically.
And I suppose going through every step gives you that process where you know exactly what someone behind the bar has to do. You've been there, you've done that, someone in the kitchen has to do that. You've been through every step and you've been through what they're going through. So when you are managing,
it's good, we can keep that. Yeah, we can keep that.
Managing your circus team, managing your team, you've been there and you've done that, so you're aware of what they're going through. I think that probably helps.
It definitely helps to start with, but again, I think there is a point, certainly in my journey, where I realised that being good at everything, trying to be the best barman, trying to be the best chef, trying to be all of that, is just impossible, and you're lying to yourself. So I guess when I really started managering was
we're keeping that, right?
Yeah, that's going to start. We're going to keep circus and managering. Okay. We're keeping those in so far. When I really started managering was when I realised that actually I was as good as my team. And by that, what I mean is that I could be a really good bartender, but if I'm bartending all the time, I'm not managing. And so what I need is a really good bartender or a team of bartenders who arguably are probably going to be better at bartendering than me to do that job. It's right. I guess that, and that's it. And eventually you build a team of people who are better than you at their roles, and that's when you know you've really arrived. And constantly now at work, I come in and go, I've had an idea. Let's go. This is going to be great. And I've surrounded myself with a group of people who are going to go, is it
we'll
that,
talk about it.
Let's take that and do something good with it. And honestly, 9 times out of 10 in the end, they're right. They do. They take something that I've thought about, translate it into a way that both they can add their considerable skill to it, but also train it out into the team in a wider sense.
And have you found that, in your role, are you based on the floor at all? Are you based on the floor all the time? Are you hiding in your office doing spreadsheets? Has it changed a lot? Because obviously, working behind the bar, you are there all the time.
So all those things. I genuinely now, in my current role, love spending time on the floor. But am I allowed to say it makes my team cringe? Because I think I'm really good. So I'll go and go, I'm going to rock out on Sunday service. This is great. And then you look round and everyone's got their head in their hand and going, Ollie, we haven't done it like that for a month, mate. That's not even the right menu. So well, I wouldn't say I hide in the office and do spreadsheets, though I do both hide in the office and do spreadsheets.
But not purposely.
I really see my current role as an extension of what I was just talking about, which is about managing a team of people who manage a team of people who deliver a customer experience which is greater than I could possibly ever imagine I could do on my own. And that's easy to say here. I'm never saying that in front of my team.
No,
But,
they will hear this.
yeah, well, yeah. Only if I tell them about it.
They will hear this.
Okay.
It's all over. It will go all over social.
In which case, can I directly say to my team that I think you're the best people ever? Thank you for putting up with me on the floor, and I still think I'm a better waiter than you. So.
And you said that obviously on your journey to manager, you made some mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes in their career. I think if you don't make mistakes, then you're not doing it right. I think that's a huge thing. I make mistakes every day, even if it's simply just not attaching a document to an email. I have done that 6 times this week. And then I follow up with really should learn to attach this.
Yeah.
But it's simple things like that. Obviously, my job's different. I'm behind a desk a lot of the time. But what is the biggest challenge or mistake that has got you to where you are now?
So my current role, which is as general manager of the Turk's Head.
And manager.
I was trying to go there, and I thought there's too many R's in this. We've had a belting couple of years. Mm-hmm. Involvement with the BII, lawyer, the NETAs.
I did forget to mention that you did win a NETAs.
No, I've been sitting on it for a while. I just thought I'd bring it up at some point. We've had an amazing year, and I've been there 4.5 years, and the business is very much in its performance kind of period. But I actually took over that pub in 2019, and if you'd asked me 6 months in, I would have told you I made a terrible mistake. Mm-hmm. I wasn't enjoying it. I was finding it really challenging. I wasn't delivering on what I wanted to deliver on. Yeah. And it's probably not a popular opinion, but then something happened in 2020, which we're not going to mention it. But allowed me a little bit of time to think and to reassess what was going wrong and take a lot of self-reflection about who I wanted to be and where I wanted to go and how I'd kind of reset on how I was going to go about that. And let's be honest, in 2020, I had very little apart from time on my hands. Yeah. So that opportunity actually allowed me to take possibly one of the more challenging periods of my life where I was genuinely willing to walk and turn that into something really positive. And I was actually locked down with some of my team because we were locked down at the pub. Mm-hmm. And the experiences and kind of the conversations and the bonding, for want of a better phrase, that we did during that time allowed us to hit the ground running coming out of that period in such a way that has now springboarded us to where we are now. Mm-hmm. So I guess my biggest challenge, my biggest mistake has actually now become almost what I'm known for.
Yeah.
And had the galaxies not collided and we'd had this weird situation in 2020, I probably wouldn't be sat here talking to you about what a good manager looks like. Mm-hmm. And so that was a huge mistake that became a huge part of who I am and where my career is at now.
One question I've always wanted to ask people: living in a pub, how do you split up your time? Like, how do you obviously if you're on the floor a day and then you go upstairs, are you still in the mindset that you're working, or is there a very clear? Have you managed to get to that point where no, I'm at home now?
It's about boundaries and it's about respect. One of the great benefits of working for a pub co or running a pub is the fact that your accommodation is part of your business. The commute's pretty good as a result, which, let's be honest, living in London, commute could be worse. Yeah. But putting
Are you ever late for work?
I'm going to say no.
Yeah. I'm sure other people might say differently.
No, in general, I'm on time. On time, but it does take me about 90 seconds to get from my house to my work. There's an element where when people complain about the not being able to get away from work when they live above it, there's a part of me that says, well, you haven't finished work then. Mm-hmm. We all have a working day, and whether or not you get to the bottom of your to-do list, there's a moment when in my head, where you clear your desk. You hand over to someone else and you kind of pass on the baby. If someone's knocking on your door 20 minutes later and something's not on fire, you haven't cleared your desk properly. Mm-hmm. If you have the right people looking after your business when you're not there, or actually just in general, I hate to say it, but they probably don't want to knock on my door because they're going to come up with a better solution without my input. True. In fact, it's probably an interesting question for my team, which is, have you ever thought about knocking on Ollie's door? Because they haven't.
They won't want to.
They wouldn't want to. No, that would genuinely confuse matters if I suddenly waded in and started having an opinion. But it's something you get used to, and I think with the right practices, the right processes, and most importantly, the right people in place, that respect is there where they recognise that you're finished for the day or that you've not started for the day. and that can wait a couple of hours until you're clocked in and ready to go.
Yeah. How would you explain to people that there's so much behind it, like you can have a career in it?
Yeah, I think it's important to bring up here that also thanks to the apprenticeship levy, now there are more formal ways, and you know, this is normally where I want to reel out a load of case studies and tell you about fantastic people, but you know, there are now examples in my business of people who, for example, chose not to go to university, thought about it, weighed up the pros and cons, decided not to. They're now managers in a big business, running a team of up to 60, 70 people. They've got life skills, they live in, so they've got savings, and they're now taking an apprenticeship that is going to give them the qualification that they would have paid 40 plus grand a year for at the time. Meanwhile, their mates have completed their 3-4 year university courses and are coming back and getting jobs in a bar, waiting to get the job that their university degree.
I don't know
has promised
anyone
them.
that's worked in, like, done university and got a career in what they've studied straight away.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you want to be a doctor or a lawyer, you have to go to university.
Yeah.
If you want to be a teacher, you
Nothing
have to do
against
some
university
classroom.
at all either.
Exactly.
Like, if it's a path you want to take, it's a path you want to take. I'm not that sort of, like, my brain doesn't work that way.
No, and the biggest thing now that, you know, we have results day at the pub where it used to be that everyone was queuing up outside headmaster or headmistress's office to talk about sixth form, and we get that at work now going, can I go full time? Because one of the big things I always say is if you're not sure, you could do a lot worse than develop yourself for a year and do some thinking. You know, even when I was going to uni, it was generally assumed you would go to university. That was the thing.
It's a huge thing, yeah.
But now I think actually that the young people, made me sound really old,
Those
but
young
those
people.
young people, but people who are now making those decisions at 18, 19 years old, they're a bit more savvy, and they're looking at the sheer amount of money it's going to cost.
Ridiculous amount of
and
money.
would you do that not knowing what you want to do? As I say, you want to be a doctor, sorry, you need to go to university. It's as simple as that. But if you're not sure yet, spend some time earning some money, developing some skills, developing some life skills. And even if in a year's time you go, you know what, actually, yeah, I do want to go to uni, I want to do that. You've not made a rushed decision that is going to cost you a lot of money in the medium term. And I think people are getting a lot more savvy about that. And then with apprenticeships and some of the opportunities available in the hospitality sector, as well as the guidance and mentoring of people who have been there from both sides, it's actually becoming more and more of a viable way to pass the mum and dad test, as we call it.
Yep.
You know, which is a huge part of everything. You know, no one wants to let their parents down. I think I wanted to piss my parents off a little bit, but I definitely didn't want to let them down.
No.
And I think now the ability to have a job, have a career, have a lifestyle, have a significant other, do all those other things, and then also get the formal qualifications that maybe you chose not to take, of course, is massively attractive. You know, and that's a big shift in the paradigm, I think. And while we've got a long way to catch up with some other countries where it's, you know, almost handed down through the generations as a career path, I really do feel like we're in a place now where people are starting to look at hospitality as a viable career path in a way they didn't do in the more recent past.
If you had to give someone 3 takeaways, not as in like free takeaways, it's loads of free food.
5 Guys.
3 takeaways from what you do, like, what would those 3 things be?
Someone who's thinking of
So, like,
doing
someone
hospitality
that's
management stuff.
thinking about being in the industry. Okay, let's split it up. One for someone that's thinking of being in the industry. One for someone that's been in the industry, not sure if they want to stay in the industry.
Okay.
And one that's looking about progressing.
Okay.
That's like 3 questions for you in one. I keep firing these at you. I'm
That's
so
cool.
sorry.
That's cool. Someone who's thinking about joining the industry is super easy. Just do it. I think there is something for everyone to fall in love with, whether that is pouring pints, carrying plates, cooking food, running teams. I am not a betting man, but I would bet that there is something brilliant that you will find, whether it's the team or the process sort of driven stuff, or if it's just making someone's night. And if all else fails, the after-work drink, let's be honest, is possibly the finest drop you'll ever experience. So just do it if you're thinking about doing it. If you're doing it and want to progress, the best advice I can give you is to make a plan about who you want to be and where you want to be.
Yep.
Put a timeline on it and hold yourself accountable to following that timeline. It's all well and good saying, I want to be this person, or I want this job title, or I want to be doing this in 2 years, and then screaming at the sky when you don't get there. Every day, hold yourself accountable for your own progress. And that will be a positive and a negative thing. That will be a critical thing. But if you hold yourself accountable to your success, you will get there faster. I guarantee it. And then the last one was for...
You're in the industry and you're not sure if you want to stay in the industry. What benefits? I guess that there's so many benefits to working in the hospitality industry.
Yeah, and let's be honest, we're all biased in this room as well.
Well,
But
yeah.
if someone genuinely came to me and said, look, I think I've had enough, I think it's important to look at what bit they've had enough with. And also to especially, I'm quite biased with regards to the managed pubco side.
Yeah.
But ultimately, diversification inside this industry is a real thing, and it's becoming more and more of a hot topic. It used to be like start as bar staff, work your way up, supervisor, AM, DM, GM, ops manager, head of division, probably managing director or retail director, then CEO, then you retire. Now, it's simple as that.
Yeah, simple as that.
Done. Hospitality nailed.
Yeah.
Now I think actually, because what that actually does, that flow, is it creates a lot of bottlenecks. It creates a lot of people either waiting for someone to retire or get sacked or die until they can progress any further.
Yeah.
I think now, if there is a particular thing that you're not enjoying about your job, maybe look for another job. Like that, you could go and do it for someone else, and it'd be a lot
it could
better.
be that the pub is not the right pub for you.
Or the manager,
Yeah.
or the people,
We've heard,
or the
no.
location. Yeah. Sorry, guys. And also look to diversify. If it is that actually marketing is what you want to have a look at, and there is an opportunity to get involved in that, or go and work for a company that maybe specialises in marketing for hospitality, diversification is not a dirty word. In fact, actually, it should be something that we really respect, because if we don't promote diversification of job roles, then we create bottlenecks in our bench strength. And what will end up happening is we just train people up to go to our competition. So look at your options diversification-wise. Question if it is an easy fix, like, are you working for the wrong person? Are you working in a place where your values don't align? And ultimately, if you do want to leave, then go. But remember that we're a very forgiving bunch in hospitality.
You're always
we'll
welcome
see you
back.
soon.
Yeah, always welcome back. We were saying at the pub that I work in that you can leave the Crossways, like you can move on from the Crossways, but you will never leave.
Yeah.
And it sounds really aggressive, but it means that you are always welcome back. You are part of the family, and if you want to come back, you're more than welcome.
Absolutely.
Perfect. So one thing we are doing with our podcast, and is that the previous person before you has written a question
Oh my goodness.
for you to answer. I don't know the questions yet, so I will be passed the question in a moment. So this was written by Kaylee, who is from the LTC. If you could choose one role in hospitality industry for the rest of your working life, what would it be? Any role at all in the whole industry? That's a good question. I'd struggle with that one.
Oh, that's a really good question.
I'd
So-
probably say I'd work in the bar if I didn't have to do everything else. I'd just pour pints all day.
Yeah, because that's what I'm thinking, is you could either go for like a functional role, like this
Yeah.
is what I do, or I could really put the cat amongst the pigeons and name like a company. You've got to think about when I get older and frail and stuff like that as well. So if I had to do the same thing every day for the rest of my life,
Rest of your life,
it would
yeah.
have to be people focused, because it's the only thing that gets me through every type of emotion in a single minute. The rest of my life, if I had to stick a pin in it, I would be an L&D trainer for a company like Punch. There you go.
Controversial. that you
Yeah.
didn't.
Of course, I'd be really happy to do that for Fuller Smith and Turner as well. But yeah, it would have to be people focused. And look, I really think I would hate to do the same role for the rest of every day for the rest of my life.
That's why we work in hospitality, because every day is different.
Because every day is different.
Yeah,
But if I had to
completely
stick a
agree.
pin in it, it would be something people-based, probably training-based, something that allows me to create my own stuff, and it would be for not too big a company, not too small a
Yeah.
company, for reasons discussed. And hopefully that company would have something exciting about its vision and its
Yeah.
approach, and a bit of a purpose as well.
training is your thing then, I guess. So you did win the NETA's 2023 Training Professional of the Year. Is that the one you won?
Yeah, I guess.
So sorry, I had a
perfect.
question
Love
there.
it.
Operator. It
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah,
a training.
To be fair, the BII have mixed around with that title a few times now. But yes, no, amazing night, and even better to share it with some colleagues who are also really successful. And yeah, I do. I'm not actually totally sure I'm that good at training. But what I am good at is hiring and developing trainers, and people who maybe didn't think that they were trainers beforehand, and giving them a structure and guide as to what I think, a bit like we were discussing about before, these are the changes we're going to make. This is what I think is coming over the hill, and this is how I think we're going to combat it.
What was the award you won? Because I feel like I have to say that again very clearly. And I'm really sorry that I should know this, but there were 14 and it was 3 weeks ago.
And you think I should know as well, it was Best Training Programme Individual Operator.
Okay. I can't remember what I said, but...
I think you were quite close, actually.
Okay.
I think you were quite
I
close.
said Best Training Professional, but that was Z.
That was Z.
That
Yeah, was Z.
Nanny McZ.
Who definitely will listen to this and will kill me if you give me his award.
Okay, so Ollie, just to clear, Ollie won the... I've forgotten it already.
Best Training Program Individual Operator.
Best Training Program Individual Operator for NETA's 2023.
It's great. Nailed it first time.
Okay, perfect. For the manager role.
For the manager role. Best manager role.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you very, very, very much. And a big shout out to Brewdog for letting us record in their podcast studios at Brewdog Waterloo. If you haven't been here before,
Even
it's
if they did
awesome.
put us next to a bowling alley. So.
that is the background noise. But there's a slide, there's a bowling alley. It's a great venue. So yeah, thank you so much, Brewdog.